You guys linked me this the other day, how we spent $0 on marketing our game and sold thousands of copies. I think this is really interesting because, in my opinion, not all the marketing, but for the majority of the marketing, you can let Steam do its thing if you have a good game. And no, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have any marketing on releasing your game. However, the Steam algorithm by itself promotes good games to customers, which means if you have a really good start for your game, let's say a release or a early access release, and you do it right, you can generate a lot of traction to your page because Steam will promote your game on the front page of Steam in the featured section. And you get there by people playing your game for a long time and obviously buying your game. And these two metrics oftentimes determine a good game. So making a good game and putting in zero marketing can work if you have a good game. Pretty game too, yes, or interesting, something that invokes the feeling of, ooh, let me check that out. What is that? And so I wonder how they did it. And usually before you watch these videos, get unicycle pizza time. Is that it? Very positive? Is this the game? Is that a test? August 30th? 100 very positive reviews. I think that's good. Maybe this is it. Thousands of copies. Okay, let's see. They did it in 30 days. So that must be the game then. Okay. Let's test.
Almost 3 weeks ago, we released our second game on Steam, Unicycle Pizza Time,
Okay,
which is a precision platformer streamer-based style of game that we made in just 1 month. And that 1 month included marketing the entire game. So a question that you also had, of course, is how did you do that? Because if we look at the stats here, 88% positive ratings with 87 reviews. If we look at the total sales, we've made a few.
Okay, so they made about 8,000. Like, look, guys, think about this. Okay, think about it like this. You make a game in 1 month and you earn $6,000. Damn, bro. That's crazy. Damn. That's a good salary, man. I can live off that, bro. Holy.
Few $1,000s at this point. I think this is for a 1 month of work. This is some very good stats.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, hey Marnix, what did you do marketing your game? And that's what this video is going to talk about. We didn't do that many different things of marketing. We didn't do things like demos. We didn't do things like fests. We only did one thing. I'll talk about that in a second. Gotta make sure you're gonna keep watching. But before that, I wanna say, do not take this video as a blueprint to marketing.
No.
We made a lot of mistakes because we made this in 1 month and we only had 2 weeks between the Steam page being actually live and the game being released. Because that's the bare minimum that Steam requires you to have. You can't ship a game faster than that.
Okay, I wonder why it takes him 22 minutes to talk about it though, but damn, holy moly, okay.
And even then, like the one big thing that we did use was influencer marketing, and we only had 3 days between our build for them being ready and the game actually releasing. So once again, there's too little time everywhere. This is not a how-to. This is still to give you an idea of what did we do. There are some good things that we did, but this is not...
Okay, so if I were to make an assumption and apply that to myself, because like what I would do is, I put the game out as a demo version because I have more time. I use the demo version and you guys play the demo version because you want to test out the game. And then I use the stats from the demo version to determine, okay, where can I improve the game? And then upon approving the game, when I get closer to release and I have a good feeling about where the demo is and which place I should be, then I will market to influencers. So I will start writing emails and ask them to play the game, to check it out if they want to. And I'm pretty sure 99% of them will just ignore the email and some of them will try it out. And then I will ultimately release the game. If I don't do any additional marketing, that's what I would do. And then on release of the game, I would obviously market it with a trailer or close towards the release. I would market it with a trailer.
Not what you should blindly copy, assuming it's going to get you to the #1 of new and trending, because that's what it did for us. There was a lot of luck involved with this as well. And I think that there were some things that we could have done better as well. But I think the first thing that I want you to understand as well is that, hey, marketing the game, sending things to influencers, doing Steam Fests, everything you see Chris Zukowski talk about basically, it's all nice and well, but the main thing actually is not, hey, how much you have to spend on an ad for the Summer Game Fest, for example, or how many influencers you can.
So like, this is what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't spend money on marketing my game on the Game Fest. I don't think that would... I don't think... Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that.
Or send emails, or how many events you can go to something like Gamescom and have a booth there. No. Those things will, of course, impact your marketing, of course, and how many wishlists you can get. But the biggest decision, and this is going to hurt for a lot of you guys to hear, is the genre of game you take and the style of game that you take, like the visuals. We went into this game with the approach of, we have 1 month, we have to market this as well as possible. And we basically just looked at, okay, what is an art style that sells the most? So that's why we ended up going with 3D, like high poly, like PBR style. Then also we looked at, okay, what are some games that are really good for people to play and have create content about? Because that's what we wanted. Our main approach was going to be content creators. So we...
Yeah, so that makes sense, right? You make a physics-based game because content creators like physics-based games because it's good content. So for example, someone like Queso, or maybe like Jinxie, not so much because he only plays Rainbow Six Siege, but usually content creators that play these types of games, these rage-based games, they like it. Streamable games, exactly, yeah. So getting over it is the perfect example for that.
Should make games that I, as a content creator, also understand certain topics perform way better, certain styles of videos perform way better than others. Like, for example, videos about, hey, how much we earned, or absolute beginner videos, if I look at my channel, will always get more views than like some of the more boring and like in-depth topics. So
yeah, so for example, a overview of how to make a game in C++, speaking in very generalistic terms, will get you, let's say, 10 times more views than a video explaining exactly with code examples on how to add lighting to your 2D OpenGL engine. Because that's too specific and people don't actually want to put in the work. They want to feel smart, but they don't want to put in the work. So you're telling them what you need to do in a very generalistic term, then they feel good about themselves, move on, but they didn't actually learn something. That's just how it is. That's why these videos have so many views.
That the other content creators are tied to the algorithm as well, and they want their videos to perform well. So you as a developer have to make games that will give them that performance, basically.
Yeah.
And that is why we ended up making a more of a streamer-based game. Because the entire thought here was, we want to make great content. It's going to elicit a lot of like reactions. It's going to be very visual. And also, it's someone on a unicycle. You have to assume that, hey, not only are people going to watch like full-length videos, but maybe they'll drop into a live stream. And they need to very quickly understand what is this game about. They need to be hooked just from watching the game. Like, visuals do a lot, as well as, hey, you have this unicycle. Why is there a unicycle here? It immediately gives that effect. So those were some of the decisions that we made when originally starting with this idea. I know some of you guys are like, oh my god, this is so soulless. Like, I'm gonna keep working on my 2D Metroidvania.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, these are the elitists and I'm part of them. I know that, for example, a Vampire Survivors clone would do very well if you program it very well, essentially. If you have crisp mechanics in the game, you move very easily, and the enemies are balanced against your attacks. Hordes of Torment, amazing Vampire Survivors clone blowing up. Yeah, Hordes of Torment, Death Must Die. There's many Vampire Survivors clones. These are usually a safe bet to earn some money. Yeah, and so yeah, I would do that if I wanted to make money now.
Yeah, that talks about dealing with like loss or grief or whatever, because I believe that is the game that I want to make. That's fine by me, but understand that going in and marketing that game, or marketing a game that just doesn't look good, marketing a game that is very basic, it's 2D. 2D does so much in like your game being unmarketable, basically. And I know it sucks to hear, but it's unfortunately the truth, because you're a developer.
You wanna see like an unmarketable game because there's nothing happening? This guy doesn't move. Nothing's happening. Just empty. I have struggled with this since day one, and I'm still struggling with this. He could do a little backflip rip. Yeah, he's a fucking tomato. Nothing happens. You don't like, so it would be so easy if I have a character in the middle of a map and I just run to the left and to the right. So easy. Your marketing videos need to be on round 100. Yeah, but you only get to round 100 when you're close to finishing your game, you know? And even this, the enemies moving, the rest of the screen is static. That's a huge problem. People want to see action. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I'm telling you guys, I've tried that. Screen shake? Yeah, we will get to screen shake in the future. That's unmarketable.
We weren't selling our games to developers. We were selling our games to normies who do not care about us being the developer at all and all of that. So
they were selling the game to customers. And the gamer is the customer.
At that point, then you go for the higher poly style and you go for the more casual genres. There is definitely value in like more niching down and getting specific art styles, but it's not going to be the play if you want to do these short cycles. Okay, with that very long-winded intro.
And so you see that he said what was important here, which should be emphasized, if you want to do these short cycles. We're not talking about a game that is made in like 1, 2, 3 years. We're talking about a game that is made in a month, 2 months. If you make a short game, then you cannot make these. You essentially can't really make this.
But this is honestly the most important thing of marketing. Choosing that right genre and that like right game basically is influencers. I believe, and I've always been believing this for a long time, but this was the game where I really got to try it out, is I believe the most effective and the like S-tier marketing strategy is simply having a game and then letting other people play it and use their audiences to promote your own game. So you often hear this of like people who are like, hey, should I start a YouTube channel that does the developer start to promote my game, or should I start my own TikTok and all of that? And it's like, yeah, you could do that. The big problem you have there is you don't have an audience. But there's a lot of people on YouTube who play maybe games similar.
You don't have an audience and you spend a lot of time making devlogs for your game that might not even be interesting yet. So let's say you, like usually the first devlog always gains the most views. Usually, not always, there are always exceptions, of course. But the first devlog gains a lot of views because you're coming out, oh, I have this cool idea, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to put this in this, and oh, it's going to be awesome, guys, just trust me, bro. And you know, and everyone's going to be like, oh, Pork, man, this guy's making such a cool game, bro, let me follow, subscribe, yeah, write down a comment, hey, man, you're so inspiring, right? So that's the first game, or the first video. And then usually it drops down as you get into development hell, and it takes longer than expected, and you have these issues. And ultimately, you kind of just want to do this. In my opinion, the best marketing strategy, in my opinion, is done by Tiny Gladium. We took a look at this earlier. This is all you need, essentially. Take a look at this. You need a house? No, you see, like, this might be a bad example. Just wait. Okay, what about this? This was the first one didn't do it for you. What about, like, the quality is kind of bad on X. Sorry about that. Take a look at this. You saw that? There was a 13-second clip. And it got 735,000 views. Now, when can you do this? When your game is very close to being finished, or you have a very strong foundation for how your game is going to be. I think that is the most efficient way to devlog your game. 700,000 with no waifus is impressive. Yeah, so that's how I see it. And that's ultimately what I'm gonna do from now on. And if you don't believe me, you can look at my YouTube channel, take a look at the very first videos that I did about my game, and find out that I got 200 views, 300 views, 400 views. I basically got nothing, but I spent so much time and effort into something that ultimately didn't need to exist. But I learned to not do that anymore. I learned that if I don't have anything cool to show, I'm just not gonna post anything because it's a waste of time. Gonna do something else. Something that's more fun and interesting for me. Like working on the game or watching cool videos like this one, right? The marketing video here. Let's continue.
Right? You're making who do have an audience, whether that's 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, or even millions of subscribers. And it's much more return on investment by just lucking yourself into getting covered by one of those bigger streamers and then getting tens.
I wouldn't say lucking yourself. Like if you're talking about a small game that you do in a month, 2 months, 3 months, yes. But if you do a longer game, you can have a strategy, just like I explained. You try to Tiny Glades is not the only game that did this. It's also Core Keeper. If you take a look at the very first clip of Core Keeper, it just shows them blocking away, hacking away at the, what is it called? Hacking away at the walls inside the cave. And then all of a sudden it opens up, boom, and you see lighting come into the room. And it illuminates the entire area. You know, obstacle-based lighting, I guess you can call that. And that gained a lot of views, like millions of views. It went viral. So, like, I don't think it's exclusive to Tiny Glades. You just need to have something that's catchy enough. And that exists in a good game, that exists. And then you just post a clip of that and people will immediately flock towards it and it's like, damn, that's cool. So yeah, that's how I see it. If you're playing the long game, of course, right?
Of thousands of views when all you had to do was just make a game that was interesting and send an email. And that is all we did basically in terms of promoting our game. Sure, we made our own devlog, which was like, we made the devlog not really to market our own game, but more just to show you guys like, hey, there's something we're working on. It was not our main goal to get wishlists because
they farmed basically what they did in terms of YouTubers. They farmed the first devlog. Yeah. You know, the what I explained earlier, the hype moment. Yeah.
Only got about 170 from our devlog, which sounds nice, but it wasn't that much. Now, I think also maybe one thing to say as well before we get too driven into the wishlist number is, I made this brilliant post. Even though we've sold over 2,000 copies, when we launched our game, we only had 500 wishlists, which...
I have 500 wishlists. Guys, maybe I should release my game now. What do you think? People are playing my demo version for 6 whole minutes. I think we're onto something here. Do it. Yeah.
By all means, should mean our game is dead on arrival and there's no possible chance of success. You hear this often where it's like, oh, you need 7,000 wishlists before you can even consider releasing. And
so you guys want to see a cool game that had like, I think 200 wishlists on release? This game right here. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this before, right? This is the game for Mr. Real Super Cool here in the channel. He's a regular here. And that's Pogostock. Had about 200, 300 wishlists on release. I don't think wishlists have too much of an impact. They do have an impact on release to create the first hype around the game. But if the game is not good enough, it doesn't capture enough people for long enough, then it doesn't really matter how many wishlists you have. I'm pretty sure Immortals of Avernum, the game that had almost 300,000 Twitch viewers on launch, they had a bunch of wishlists, but no one bought the game. I saw Pogostuck as a big YouTuber, caught my interest playing it right now. Yeah.
For the most part, that is true. I think we kind of were able to break out of this purely because of two things. First of all, we got lucky with the new and trending. That is one thing. But then how did we get on the new and trending in the first place? We made a game that thrived on virality, basically. Like once someone saw it, you have this whole waterfall. And that's what happened as well if you go and look just on YouTube at all of the like pieces of content made about Unicycle Pizza Time. Like you'll see a lot of this is Japanese. We really struck a Japanese audience for some reason. Talk about it later.
Like collectively, there's probably multiple millions of views on the game. You can see some like 100 viewers, but you can also see some 5,000, 1,000 here. And then up there was close to 100,000, probably multiple millions.
Well, but like all of these pieces of content came out pretty quickly after launch. We only had one piece of content really that came out before launch, and then on launch, because the game was so like appealing to streamers, people still ended up playing the game, and we got a big boost when we look at our wishlist actions here of like 500 and then another 770 in the first 2 days, because we had that viral. This is not something that you can immediately plan for. It's not something you can fully reproduce, but certain genres, once again, will be better than others. Now, I made a video about this entire process about, I think 4 or 5 months ago, that goes super in depth on, hey, how do you get influencers? How do you contact them? How should you structure your emails and all of that? I'll link it up there. It's a really good video, but I want to give a quick rundown once again of how do you do it? Because this is also a way of marketing that doesn't cost you any money, basically.
Oh, but it does cost you money because you have to invest time, and time equals money as an indie developer. So it kind of costs you money, but you don't have to invest money. Yeah.
All you need to do is find that big list, create it yourself most likely, and then send out a few hundred emails, ideally, and wait. And all of that you can do in like 48 hours. And that's your entire marketing strategy, basically. Could be that.
By the way, the game I'm talking about, or talked about earlier, Pogo Stuck, that's what he did too. He sent out the emails himself. He actually got an email on release of his game from a publisher that wanted to help him publish the game, but he did it himself and ultimately was successful because big streamers played his game. You know, I'm pretty sure not everyone answered him, obviously not. But, you know, some did, and that spread. And then, you know, bigger streamers saw the game and they also picked it up. So yeah, you can do it yourself. It does work.
And it would be fine already. As you can see here, this is the Excel list that we had for ourselves, where you're going to compile all possible YouTubers who...
Ludwig is here to the left, the millions of subscribers, I see. There's even some people with 3,000 subscribers. 0.2 subscribers, no YouTube channel link, okay. So mostly people with like millions or 100,000, but there's also some smaller creators, Josh the Goldfish, for example.
Play similar games to yours, and you're like, hey, this would be a good fit for them to play my game. Now, you can see like some of these are very big, like there's people like Forsen, Queso, like they have millions of subscribers.
I don't think Queso played the game. Maybe he did. But maybe he did. Let's see. Queso is really big. No, he didn't. He did not. But he might play it in the future. So they are still pop-off. But he likes playing these types of games. That's why I'm looking.
All of them are also much smaller. Like here, for example, we have some with 15,000 subscribers. Anything I would say...
Queso has about 60 to 70,000 viewers on Twitch every day. He's one of the biggest content creators on the website. He's huge.
Like 5,000 is worth it. You can send to...
He's also huge in body-wise.
less than 5,000 subscribers as well, but it becomes very much a more limited return on investment. And like at the end of the day, getting the keys to send out to influencers is still very cheap. Yes, you don't pay anything, you just click a button on Steam. But you're going to just go through all of YouTube, scour everyone you can find, and put them in the list, and then yeah, you get a final big list. Like here we have a bunch with like 9,000 and whatever. And you're going to contact all of them. I've got the keys and the emails blocked out in this Excel list because that's not really what I'm supposed to be sharing with you. But you just go through this. I gave 2 keys as well. Normally you do just 1, but because we have a 1 to 4 player co-op game, I figured I would send 2. And then once you have those YouTube channels, you want to get their email. And how you do that is if you're on YouTube, there's this very
you click on this link there.
As you can see on my screen, I'm here on Bite Me. You can go to like the About section. There's channel details. You can click view email address, and voila, you can contact someone. Our primary form of contacting people was just using email, and you can do things like Twitter DMs as well. It's something I personally didn't have.
I think most people that are bigger, they have their Twitter DMs blocked in a way where you have to invest money to write them a comment. For example, you cannot write Primogen a message directly. You have to have, I think, Twitter Premium or something. And even then, he might have blocked messages from people that he doesn't follow or something like that. So you might not be able to... you need Premium on Twitter, yeah, at minimum. I don't know if you can still block further on, but I don't have Twitter Premium, so yeah. In your strategy, our publisher is applying to single games is pay a streamer to record a 2-hour play session with their first expressions, then use that stream on the stream. On Steam. Oh, so you mean this. When I click on this, I get this live now broadcasting. And then it shows me Jonas Tyrola playing the game for, how long is it? This one right here. That's essentially marketing, you mean? You're playing that stream on Steam. That's what your publisher is doing. I see. 376 hours, surely. Yeah, he's been playing the game non-stop because it's so good. And he has actually 28 viewers now. Okay, I see. So there's 28 people that are viewing this recording right now. The conversion rate is much better when the Steam is active. You just loop it when the stream is active. Aha, you can have this all the time, can't you? Can't you just play this all the time? Interesting. That's some really cool strategy. I'm actually going to yoink this, by the way. My brothers, we found a new strategy. So what I do here, when I have something that is really cool, I'm gonna put it right here. Then paste this. You know, there's so many chat suggestions. That's what we call Steam Stream Marketing. Yoinking that. Thank you so much. And then we put in a, let's actually turn this red. Label red. There we go. And so whenever we get to that point, I can read this and I'm like, ah, cool. That's what I usually do for suggestions and things like that I can't do right now, but in the future. Nice.
Any experience with beforehand, and everyone I wanted to contact, basically, I could find emails for through YouTube, so I didn't need to. But if you want to go for like super high volume, it's definitely something you can try out as well. And then you just want to send them an email. This is an email that I sent out. We got a response for. There was content made by this. So this is the basic template that we made. And this is not good. I'll talk about in a second what I was actually still missing here.
Okay.
But it's like, hey, name, I'm part of this indie studio and we're working on our own game. And you give a very, very short pitch, like 1 or 2 sentences. And then we gave some information of like, hey, is there an embargo or anything? We put it in here of like, hey, look, you can already create content about it. Know that these things will most likely still change before the game fully releases. We gave the 2 codes, put the code in the email.
Okay,
already.
so what is bad about it?
Some YouTube content creators themselves, they even say like in the title, put like, hey, key inside. I think what I more believe, and this is like kind of my sales experience from my previous life coming in, is don't just title your email of like new upcoming game, but here it's like, are you a unicycle pro? Like you wouldn't know. This is kind of a clickbaity email title. That's more of the idea that I have for Forge Industry, with a similar thing where it was like, we reached out to automation YouTubers and then we told them like, hey, conveyor belts suck. We've got something better. And that's the title.
Tired of conveyor belts, okay.
More appealing than just being like very generic, like key attached, new roguelite game coming out or something. I think this is better. This is my personal opinion. I don't know.
Are you tired of balloons? It always feels the same. You always wanted to have more options when building your party. Fear not. Tangy Defense is there to save you. Hell yeah. Why play blue? Why? What if you don't have monkeys, but oranges? Oranges are much cooler than monkeys, aren't they? True. Hot tangerine defense. Exactly.
Exact thoughts of real.
But when we say that we get banned,
play the content. Maybe if they watch this video at one day, they can comment. But what was this email missing? And it is something that I only started doing after I'd already sent out basically 100+ emails. A press kit. Basically, what is a press kit? If you've never heard of it before,
it's a collection of images and videos.
It's just like a single big piece of information that you feature, like some GIFs, you feature the trailer, you feature some screenshots.
And please feature the logo. Thank you so much. I hate when I try to find an Elden Ring logo and there's no logo with a transparent background and you have to like crop out the background yourself. It's so annoying. Man.
If someone wants to create content about your game, or for example, for YouTubers, this is very important.
YouTubers love titles that are cropped out. Please. I hate it, man.
Thumbnails.
So many do this wrong.
You want to give them your press kits, because what we included here is we included the high quality logos of the game.
Yes,
you
need to.
The font basically that they use for the logo if they want to reproduce. And we had like these funny like cutout images of the unicycles as well.
Yeah, so this one is really good because you could put your hat on these and you can just put them on top of the thumbnail that you already created. Really good for YouTubers.
You'll see some people actually ended up using in their thumbnails here. And it helps a lot.
To be honest, these thumbnails are kind of dog shit, you know. Sound terrible. Yeah, you could do a better job with those, you know. Like,
in making more custom, because otherwise what they'll do is they'll just go to your Steam page and they'll take like one of the screenshots and have to overlay their own stuff on it. It's not always as engaging. Also, if you have things like good capsule art, put the capsule art in the press kit as well. I'm using a tool called Press Kitty by Impress Games, which is completely free. I talked about them in a previous video, and it's very easy to just create your own little press kit. So there's a link down below to that. But having that press kit was definitely a worthwhile addition that we should have done. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you have these YouTubers, and it's something that I personally also want to tell people who are like, hey, I want to do influencer outreach, is don't get stuck on the subscriber number. Like you'll see, like, of course, we start a big list with like a Queso, a Quesonat, a Forsen, whoever, like the big YouTubers, because if they cover your game, perfect, you're good then, right? The problem is, and this is generally around the 100 to 150,000 subscriber mark, is you'll start running into this. And that's called agencies, where, hey, you send an email.
I see. So they're telling you, thank you for reaching out, but we want money, 100%. Thanks for reaching out to Queso. Yeah, so I told you guys, this guy is huge, you know, huge. With this opportunity, we are curious if there's room for a flat rate payments in exchange for promotional activities within this campaign. If not, we are always happy to pass keys to talent. We just can't promise they would promote the game or create content around it without paid compensation. True. And I think they should do this. This is okay. So he's part of the Mythic Talent group. Yeah.
But you're not sending an email to the talent itself anymore. Like if you send an email to talent directly, the chance of you getting covered is infinitely higher than if they're using someone like Mythic Talent or GG Talent Group, like agencies that are become the gatekeeper between the influencer and whoever wants to do sponsorships and whatever. And their job basically is to earn money for the influencer.
Big streamers usually ask like $1 to $1.5 per concurrent viewer. Really? That's an interesting rate. How do you know that? The max I can do is $1. Take it or leave it. Yeah. I have a whole dollar for you, bro. Take it or leave it. You can't do it. Come on. Yeah.
Which means that, hey, you will get emails like this where it's like, hey, thank you for reaching out, but do you have any budget for money? Because realistically, if you don't give them a bag of money, and we're talking about multiple thousands of dollars here at a minimum, then we can't guarantee you any coverage. And it's like, yeah, maybe we'll play it one day, and you can. It gets, if you're lucky, but there's no planning at this point. So you're much...
Yeah, that's usually per hour. Yeah, it's an hourly rate. So let's say you have 100 reviewers, you get $100 per the hour. It needs to be per hour.
More shouting into the void by going to the
not going to be per minute.
More than 100,000 or like 150,000 subscribers, or basically just anyone with an agency like managing them versus...
But to be honest, like I'm a streamer too. I feel like that's a bit low. Because like I can't really tell, I guess, I don't know if I'm able to tell, but we played the Everywhere game. I got more than $1 per viewer. But maybe it's just scaled differently if you have more viewers. How much did Raid Shadow Legends give? I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you, man. I don't want to get in trouble. I would tell you immediately. I don't mind, bro. I really don't mind. This is what I've been told from my publisher, but I'm also not sure which streamers they were talking about. 50 buckos. It was more than 50 bucks.
Finding direct emails of people, basically. And yeah, that's basically the main thing of how did we do our outreach. It wasn't that hard. Now, one question that I did get a lot as well is, how do you approach the Japanese streamers? Because this is actually kind of a funny one, where Japanese streamers and Japanese VTubers, which is most of the content creators, as you can see here, and these VTubers actually have a bit of...
By the way, Mr. Real Super Cool said this as well. His game, Pogostuck, is really big in Japan. Japan essentially keeps his game alive. I don't know why that is, but it looks like Japanese people really like these types of games. For some reason.
Or you'll encounter the same problem as with regular US streamers that I just said, the agencies. It's even worse in Japan, because even YouTubers with like 5,000 and less subscribers are often part of talent agencies. It's part of the culture here to have usually somewhat predatory agencies that take like 70% of all the money you take, but you have to go through them. There's no good contact email. It's like all Japanese forms. I didn't want to bother with that, which is also why we originally didn't reach out to a lot of Japanese people. We reached out to, I think this is like 7 or 8.
Okay.
And up until here, like the first 70 we did before launch. And out of that, we got lucky because there was one called Tomari Mari, and they are a like independent VTuber, so we could contact them directly. And then we got lucky because then it snowballed, and other agencies actually reached out to us and were like, hey, what are the rules and regulations about the game? Do you have press kits? Do you have codes or whatever? And we got lucky that way. But contacting them directly, the agencies, was not going to go anywhere. So once again, you need to get lucky to a certain degree. I don't want to attribute all of this to luck, by the way. A lot of this is just putting in the effort, and the more emails you send, the
Bro, you literally have to collect hundreds and hundreds of emails and then write these emails and come up with catchy titles too. That is draining, I'm telling you guys.
More chance you're gonna have of being lucky. I think it's not just that, oh, you just got covered. It's like everyone can get covered, and having one good piece of coverage can often do a lot for your game. It can make or break your entire marketing campaign almost. But that's basically how you do the Japanese YouTubers.
Survivor bias a little bit here.
I think maybe a good one is if you want to find...
Think about it like this. The better you strategize around this, the higher your chance at luck is. So the worse you do it, the worse your chance at luck. You can call this survivorship bias, but I think ultimately calling it like that is mostly just lazy. Because if you don't think about it critically, then you will probably not even have a chance. You have no chance because you're not trying.
Find out, how do you find Japanese YouTubers? You can see it in my history here. We've looked at a similar game, Stretcherman, which was the closest in terms of like when it released compared to ours, because games like Only Up, they're like 2 years older, YouTube changes a lot. What you do to find Japanese YouTubers is you write the name of your game, and then what you can see here in the katakana is game. And if you just look up this, you're gonna find Japanese YouTubers, Japanese influencers playing your game. And then once again, it's very easy. Like for example, I did it here with Konta, I think. You open their channel, you go to the More tab, you click on the like more about this channel, and then voila, you can get their email address. It's very easy that way, and you just have to send them an email later on. So this is how you do it for Japanese YouTubers. There are other ways to do it for like other languages, but I was focusing mainly on US, a little bit on France, and then also Japanese as our big-ish targets, basically. If you have more localized languages, of course, you can do like Turkish. We have some Indonesian streamers. For the Japanese ones, one other thing maybe that is interesting to say is the emails that I sent, they were in Japanese, but I just used ChatGPT to translate it. It was not rocket science, basically. Then one other thing that I want to cover, because it's the first time that we were using it now with our influencer campaign, is this other tool called CoverageBot by, once again, the same people who made Press Kit, Impress.games. And what they do basically is they track all of the content being made about your game, basically. Like every time a video comes out or like a tracking, like you don't manually have to look for, are people making content about my game? You get notifications, they track it. Or like, for example,
this is really cool. So you can see how popular your game is based on views and how many videos are coming out. That's really interesting. What is this called?
Are there articles? Are there links from Reddit, for example, to your store page? It's very easy here to track all of that, basically. And I think generally this was a pretty good tool. And the big thing I like is, as you can see here, you get notifications when people are live streaming.
Wait a minute, I want to check this out. I have never seen this before. Proudly supporting the independent games industry. Our modular pricing reflects individual needs and budgets. $24 a month. And 1 active game. 2 active games? 48. Look at this. That's how you can find coverage items limited 5,000. I see.
Notification and a link of, hey, this person is streaming. And it's something that helped us a lot as well of, hey, you can just hop into their chat. You don't have to manually refresh all the time. Hop into their chat, talk with them. Just being a very human developer at the end of the day, especially at least with the Japanese influencers I did the most there, can help a lot in just getting more sales, because you're not just soulless developer, like interacting with people.
So for example, whenever we release the game, the Tangy Defense, I will try to go into everyone's chat that's playing the game. Every time I see someone playing the game, I'll try to go into their chat and see what they do and if they have any questions. Obviously, I will target the biggest ones first and then go down. But yeah, that's what I will do for sure.
It does a lot still in getting a little bit extra sales, getting a little bit extra reviews. So I think the coverage bot is pretty good. We also have an affiliate code if you want, that is like 10% discount if you use code BITEME10. I'll put it up here somewhere. First, when I first got this, I was like, ooh, I don't know if it's gonna be worth it, but now it has made it a lot easier to track when things are going on. And especially like this.
Though, like, now that I think about it, shouldn't you just look at the Steam graph? Steam tells you how many Twitch viewers and how many people visit your site. Impressions, essentially, how many click on it, and how many people play your game and how many people buy your game. I think that's ultimately another indicator for how widespread your game is. I don't know, like Steam tells you Twitch viewers, yeah, Steam tells you that.
It's also allowed us to find some other things that are not
Steam
just YouTube
does,
videos,
yeah.
but I want to talk also, it's a good segue into press coverage, because 80 level, which is like a press thing for game stuff basically, they covered our game. Once again, we knew from it because we got the notification of like, hey, new article about Unicycle Pizza Time. We did not reach out to 80 level. Basically, like press was not...
However, though, it might be worth to pay like for the first month $28, right? Maybe.
Really,
I don't know. I'm just a cheapskate. That's why I'm saying this. You know?
More focus of us. Of course, I made a video once again half a year ago where I went to a Japanese press company, Automaton, and I talked about, hey, how do you approach press? How does the entire process work, basically? I have mixed feelings. I think press is not for our style of game. If you're making like more of the cozy games and more of the visual games, you can try press. The problem is also if you go to like a YouTube video, you can see how many people actually watched it. With press, all of that information is hidden basically. So often you'll have like press and it's like 10 people may have read it. And other times like maybe 10,000 people may have read it. Who knows? So it wasn't our core focus. I did reach out to one person, and that was the guy that I did the interview with, Cakez from Automaton. And they wrote a pretty good article. Of course, it's all in Japanese, so good luck. But this was pretty popular as far as I can tell from like Twitter interactions and things like that. Did this help a lot? I don't know. Probably like one influencer covering our game would have done about the same, but it's still nice. The structure for this email was a bit different. It was like, hey, we've met before, and it's like, hey, this is the story. So we link to like our devlog of we're making the game in 1 month. This is the game. Give it a spin, basically, was what we did. And of course the pitch, and then they wrote the article on their own. Like once again, you don't ever have guarantees that you'll have coverage either from influencers or press, but if you can try, it's always worth it, because at the end of the day, this is still free. You're not paying anything to get this coverage. You just have to send some emails. Now, what would I have done differently? Because of course we did a whole bunch of stuff, some good, some bad. There were two main problems, or two things that I would change personally if I had to do this again. Okay. The first thing that I didn't do is start making that big influencer list early enough. Like right now, we're sitting at about 126 emails that like we've collected. I think that is still on the low end. I think ideally you want to go for 150, 200, and anything above that even better. Sometimes you'll reach a problem that, hey, this specific genre that I'm looking at, there's not even that many content creators who fit the bill. But still, the more you have, the more chances of getting lucky. Once again, a content creator picks up the game, makes a video about it, and you get the wish lists. So really, the earlier start, because this...
What you can do is you can go to... Essentially, you can look at the streamer stats or something, I don't know. It's not Twitch tracker, stream charts maybe? Bloons TD6, let's see, who streams Bloons TD6? Can you see who streamed it? It's not this website, I think. Channels? I think it's a different... Oh, actually, it might actually be this website here. Yeah. So essentially this. So this website right here, it might be a different one too. But this one right here allows you to check which streamer played your game, and then you can sort them by hours watched and peak viewers, average viewers, and then maybe let's sort them by average viewers, right? And then you see, okay, in the last 7 days, and we can change that to say, okay, I want this to be, okay, so you need to pay. Fuck. So that could be like a beginning point, right? Let's say the last 30 days. And so you can see that Basti GHG, which is a German streamer, has played this game for a very long time. And hours watched is very high for this guy right here. So you would probably want to write him an email. And then almost everyone on this list, essentially. Yeah. And you can go through the list and then figure out, okay, which one do I want to write? And it looks like ever since I first saw this, they started adding in the pro features to make money off this, of course. So you might have to invest money or find a better service that provides this information.
It will take some time, and you have to scour YouTube, and it's like, oh, this is boring, I don't want to do this. The earlier you start in collecting the emails, the better, because you'll just build up a bigger list. And then the second big mistake with it, but that is something that normally, hopefully you won't have, is only having those 3 days between having the build of our game that we could send out to streamers and actually, you know, releasing the game. 3 days is not enough. We got lucky there that we had those streamers who could basically immediately get the email and be like, okay, I'm gonna play this tonight. You get lucky there. Normally, always I would say have 2 weeks, because that is the general amount of time that content creators need to have, like, go through their backlog, because like the next few days are usually scheduled already. They have to record the video, they have to edit it, and then they have to like make thumbnails, titles. It takes time. So generally I would say at least 2 weeks in advance, send out those emails. If there's things like, for example, Steam Nexus and things like that, send them out even earlier, because my God, they are going to be so swamped with emails, with builds and things like that. Some of these, they get like 10 to 20 emails of other developers every day. So there will always be more games than they can physically cover. There's only 3.
Wait, let's see. I would appreciate a no, since I won't be able to tell if my email got buried, in which case I should follow up, or simply weren't interested, though I understand they get flooded so that they can't reply to everyone. I wish I was better at responding for things like this, but Bridgeborn is in this really awkward spot for me where I'd like to cover it when I have a free slot, but other tasks / games keep taking up these slots, so I can't say no or even a yes.
3 videos basically you can upload a day on YouTube before the YouTube algorithm severely punishes you. So it's just also, yeah, once again, I keep saying this, it's partially being lucky, but the more you send out, the more lucky you're gonna be and the more chance you'll get that someone covers your game, ideally before it releases, because then you can build up those wish lists. In our case, after it releases, it was still all right because it was like 2 days after release.
Yeah, so those people that think they need a response, that's kind of entitlement, exactly. If the people don't respond, then it's not important enough to cover it. That's essentially your answer. Like, the answer is there already.
Keep that in mind.
People are just dumb. They make up other excuses.
And do a lot more as well. Like, we didn't do the fests, but this doesn't mean, once again, that you shouldn't do fests. Join fests, join all of that. Do your best at marketing in different ways, of course, but I do think that influencers can like carry a very big amount of your marketing. And
the coolest thing is, mostly publishers advertise that they have connections to those influencers. And that's how they get you in as an indie developer, because you know, okay, so if I have this publisher, they have these types of connections, and so these content creators will these content creators will cover my game. And that's how they ultimately argue to be your publisher. But you can do this yourself, and as he said, you can get lucky. Let's say you write 200 emails to 200 influencers. Some of them are going to respond if the game is interesting enough and you picked the influencers wisely enough.
Doesn't even have to cost you anything. Anyways, I know the style and presentation of this video was a little bit different. If this was something that you're interested in, then of course let me know. I'm always curious about your thoughts. I hope I taught you a bit more marketing wise, because it is the bane of a lot of game developers at the end of the day. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments down below, or ideally join our Discord, which is also linked down below, where I can just respond much faster and we have an actual conversation versus me just sending you like asynchronous messages.
Thank you very much for this. Very
interesting.
If you
want more content like this, we upload 2 videos every week talking more about just things we learn, making our own games, the mistakes we make, and the wins we have.
You know, like, we wanted to do this in the past, but I didn't get to it. We wanted to make a game in 1 month and then ship it. We actually started working on it, and I think we got like 12 or something days in until I ultimately quit. And I would like to repeat that in the future. Not the quitting part, but actually making the game in 1 month part. Yeah, failed. Yeah, we failed. I just couldn't stick to Godot, unfortunately. But yeah, I would like to do that. Anyways, awesome video.
Have sometimes as well, so be sure to head down below and subscribe if you haven't done that yet, because it really helps us out as well, because I like to see numbers go bigger as well.
Exactly, you make good videos. September 17th, that is how long is that ago? Almost a month ago, right? Not really, it's like 2-3 weeks ago. Really good video, very insightful, and essentially just pick the right game for the right influencers to market it towards. If you guys wanna, you know, check out the channel yourself, here it is, the video, and if you wanna support them, this is an interesting thing, and I think I will do this in the future as well and test it out myself. Maybe a Vampire Survivors clone, we'll have to see. I like Vampire Survivors.